Hans, a servant of Baron Dimitri's family, could not hide his troubled look on his master's abnormal behavior. So I am the eldest son of the Dimitri family. I mean, this is the Cairo kingdom on the Salamander continent. The world called Morim doesn't even exist. It was strange for Hans, since Roman was not considered smart in the family, but he didn't show his stupidity like this. Hans wondered if Roman was drunk. Recently, the departure of children of noble families toward the front line for training has become a social issue, and after some time Roman time will also go to the front line for training. While Roman's younger brothers had already moved to the capital and grew up steadily, people could see the reality of Roman Dimitri, how bad he doing here, and became Dimitri nerd. Hans said calmly, "Young master. Today is the day the daughter of the Lawrence family, who is promised to marry the master, is going to visit the estate of Dimitri. As you may have heard, the daughter of the Lawrence family is a person who values dignity and courtesy of a nobleman. So, it is better to prepare ahead of time. It's the first time you will see each other, so it will good to make a good impression on her. There is something more important than that." Hans, no matter how much he look at it, young master, is speaking now in a different tone of voice with a different weight than usual. "Take me to the eldest man here. It is more important to me to get to know the world in which I will live in the future, than that daughter of Lawrence's, whom I do not know." It was really weird situation. For master who has lived in Dimitri's estate for 25 years, is it important to learn about the world for the future. But what do I do? Hans thought. I understand, master. It was Hans' role to fulfill his duty as a servant. Asterisk asterisk. The place Hans moved to was a village outside Dimitri Castle. Dimitri Castle wall could not accommodate all permanent residents, so a village was formed outside the castle. At first, the villages were still quite plausible, but as we moved inside, the proportion of shacks in these gradually increased. With a splash, Hans frowned as he stepped on the muddy water. At the stench creeping up from all directions, he glanced toward Romans and said, "Do you really want to meet the eldest of Dimitri's estate? If it's related to the history of the territory you're talking about, it's better to use Dimitri's sage or the library. How about going back now?" Okay. Roman didn't care about his surroundings. Like Hans, he stepped into the muddy water without hesitation, and the hem of his pants got wet in the splashing water. "Hey, my pants are all wet." Hans was perplexed. Naturally, he expected Roman with wet pants to make a fuss, but Roman did not show any special reaction. It was a situation that Hans could not understand at all. The Dimitri family was not a very prestigious family, but Roman was a person who was usually quite shy about the fact that he was the son of a noble family. The appearance of Roman acting as a nobleman with no talent for it, because of which when people see him they consider him as the Dimitri's idiot. But this time it is different for Hans. He doubted whether it was the same person because even at the command of the Lord Roman did not want to leave the castle even if he died. Hans thought, did he had any head injuries? After walking without hesitation, he finally arrived at his destination. He stopped in front of the shack that was being demolished, and Hans looked at Roman with a cautious look. It is here. He is an old man who followed the Lord even before he was first granted the Dimitri estate, and he once worked as a forgeman in a blacksmith's shop. He's already been 90 years old, so it wouldn't be strange if he had died. The problem is that he is a bit immobile, so we have to go inside to talk to him. Slowly, he looked around. The stench was so extreme that his nose was stuffed, and the cobwebs formed all over the shack made him frown. There was absolutely no space for the sons of noble families to enter. So Hans kept asking for opinions on the way, but Roman moved on before he could finish speaking. Wait outside. There was no hesitation to be found in his action. Reaching out and clearing the spider's web, Roman went inside and checked the surroundings. Are you the owner of this house? How did you come to this shady place, my lord? The old man lying inside was startled. He got up while hurriedly walking through his bed, but he couldn't get up because he couldn't use his legs. Sit down and listen. Roman sat down in front of him. The old man didn't know what to do as he sat down on the dirty ground, so he only looked at Romans. I want to know everything about Dimitri's estate. What kind of land is this place and what kind of history has it been made? It's probably going to be a long story, so why don't we talk slowly while drenching your throat with the alcohol I brought? Roman showed the bottle hanging from his waist. Seeing the look of the old man bewildered with wide open eyes, Roman smiled to melt his vigilance. In these new life, Roman was now at the very bottom. Roman chose to adapt to the new world in his own way. At first, the old man could not speak properly. However, when the drunkenness started to rise, and Roman showed a serious listening attitude, his vigilance was relieved. Lord Dmitri was originally a famous blacksmith. He was running a business that made a profit by selling his own iron pieces, but he got the chance to supply weapons to the Cairo kingdom by chance. Since there was a war going on for a while, it was a great opportunity to go beyond the limits of one's status. After the war, the lord who received the rank of baron at the Nangong Hangsang. TN note Nangong Hangsang is award ceremony. The talk between them was long. Most of what Dmitri's eldest son should have known was, but the unbridled old man narrated all the stories he knew at length. Roman's judgment was correct. He asked Hans what the old man likes, and from where he found he liked alcohol, so he purposely prepared a drink to suit his taste. Thanks to Hans, Roman was able to get all the information he wanted. Baek Jong-hyuk was not yet familiar with the person named Roman, and now he is gradually built up new information in his head. Roman Dmitri. No, his original name was Baek Jong-hyuk. It was also the life that Baek Jong-hyuk lived as the head of the Cheonma Shingyo, which unified Morim. Baek Jong-hyuk, who lived a fierce life and as a warrior. Having accomplished everything, he calmly accepted his death. It was a great blessing to enjoy all the heavenly beasts and after he died, but when he opened his eyes, he was inside Roman Dmitri's body. It was absurd for him. In fact, at the moment of his death, Baek Jong-hyuk entered the realm of Dingxian. TN note here author is hinting that he had way to achieve immortality. Although there was a holy energy that enveloped his soul, Baek Jong-hyuk did not want a life where he could not live as a human being. So he refused to climb. Most of the warriors ultimately want a top line, but Baek Jong-hyuk wanted to die as a human. And now, at the crossroads of a new choice, Baek Jong-hyuk quickly accepted reality. Is this a decree, or is it God's punishment for refusing to rise to the top? Whatever it is. New life. New environment. For Baek Jong-hyuk, that was important. His last years as a heavenly demon were boring, but the scenery around him gave him life. People must live with a purpose. Having accomplished everything, even though I could do everything, I could not live as a human being. Rather, it's a good thing. Roman Dmitri, Kingdom of Cairo. This world full of unknowns will be a new challenge for me. His heart raced. Baek Jong-hyuk lived a life that will remain in the history of Morim, but looking back now, his life before that, when his life was at risk and fierce fight every day, made his life very boring in his last peaceful year. A person who cannot live normally. Baek Jong-hyuk was such a person. This is all I know. The talk between them came to an end. It must have been a long time, and the old man, who he had seen for the first time seems familiar now. Thank you, it has been a great help to me. We will compensate for this separately later. No, master. Just having a conversation with someone as precious as the master was a great blessing to me. Baek Jong-hyuk, no, Roman laughed. But at that moment, bang, Kwadong. You bastard. Loud noises came from the outside of the house. It seemed like something was going on around here. When Roman went outside, he saw a group of men beating a boy who was not yet an adult. Puck. Puck puck. You poor bastard. Just throw it away. The boy did not shed a single moan despite the intense beatings. Perhaps that incited the men's anger even more, and the men indiscriminately beat the boys with the intent to kill them. The boy's body shook with the sound. The skin exposed on the outside of his clothes was already stained red with blood bruises, and his face was also messed up and his nose was dripping with blood. People were gathered around the chaotic situation. But when they saw the fang tattoos on the men's bodies, they looked away as if nothing was happening there. What's going on? Young master. Roman stood next to Hans. Hans was watching the scene, and he said in a cautious voice when Roman appeared. It seems they are part of the Blood Fangs. It is a usury group that is active not only in the Dmitri estate but also in the surrounding estates, and seeing them do that, it seems that the boy owes a great debt to Blood Fang. You just pretend you don't know. There is nothing good about being tangled up with them. Roman's gaze looked at the Blood Fang crew. Despite the high interest, the violence occurred because the boy family borrowed money and did not pay it back. The problem is, punishment is not the responsibility of ordinary people. This is the land of Dmitri. As explained by the old man, they are obliged to judge and solve any problem by the Lord. Roman Dmitri. I still haven't quite figured out how to act as Roman. What is certain is that Roman is dead. The first things he found when he woke up were a suicide note written by Roman and drugs scattered on the floor. The contents of the will showed how weak Roman mindset was. The Cairo kingdom is a kingdom that is always under the threat of war, and for that reason, there is a law that requires each family to select a certain military force and one person to represent the family and forcibly perform national defense duties for 2 years. Roman was included. Since he couldn't force his 2 younger brothers to die, Dimitri's lord made the decision to send Roman to the battlefield. So Roman chose death. Trembling with all kinds of horrific rumors about the battlefield, he decided to take his own life on the day he got drunk. From now on, I am Roman Dmitri. The previous life was omitted. No matter what kind of life Roman has lived, as long as he owns this body, he will believe and follow the values of Baek Jong Hyuk from now on. Stop. Young master. At Roman's sudden action, Hans was startled and stopped Roman. But it's already too late. Roman's voice was loud, and the Blood Fang gang, who had stopped beating, looked at Roman with puzzled eyes. Roman Dmitri. It was a sight to behold. The problem was that Roman's reputation couldn't contain them. The man with a ferocious face, who seemed to be the leader of the gang, spit out his words with a smile on his face. Don't mind us, Dimitri's master. This is our business. It's okay to say that you are the son of a nobleman. Stop it, now kick that bastard properly. The gang whispered from behind and laughed. Hearing a rather loud voice as if to listen, Hans spoke in a quiet voice, fearing that Roman might make a mistake. Master Roman. The Blood Fang gang are bastards. If a problem arises, even outside the castle, the halo of the Dmitri family cannot do anything about it. So calm down. Hans. Roman looked at Hans. The strong, low-pitched voice caught the attention of Hans, who was trembling in fear at once. I don't know the laws of this place very well yet. So explain. Who broke Dimitri's decree here? And for breaking the law, what kind of punishment is appropriate? Hans felt like he was being sucked into Roman's eyes. Dimitri's nerd. The unsightly man who lived in pleasure every day caught him with a powerful force that he could not escape now. In the current situation, it is right to run away. However, Hans unwittingly told the truth. The boy was guilty of not paying the debt on time. It certainly deserves punishment, but the Blood Fang gang has no right to punish it directly. Above all, they dared to speak insulting words against the eldest son of the Dmitri family in Dimitri's domain. It is a felony that cannot be forgiven even with life. According to the law, it is not at all strange that they receive the death penalty. Hans bowed his head. His heart was pounding and his legs were trembling, but now he felt like he had to speak politely to Roman. Silent descended over the place and no speak anything. The onlookers held their breath, and a smirk appeared on the faces of the Blood Fang gang. Okay. You have violated Dimitri's law. Roman stepped forward. In front of everyone watching, he picked up a common branch from the ground and pointed it at the Blood Fang gang like a sword. From now on, as the eldest son of the Dmitri family, I will execute all of you, as you have broken the law.